All right, thank you, Luke. Thank you very much. Like Luke was saying, my name is Austin McCraw, and I just want to welcome you to this edition of the Marketing Experiments Web Clinic. If you're new to these clinics, our mantra, our goal here is simple. It's simply this: we want to discover what works in online testing. And to that end, we actually have been running experiments, and today we're going to be focusing on pay-per-click. We're going to be asking ourselves, what are some things, what are some changes? How can we do our pay-per-click in such a way that it can generate the most response? So we're going to be looking at particular case studies today, more than just one, multiple case studies today around PPC that have really revealed some pretty interesting principles about why people click certain PPC ads versus others. So again, thank you for attending today. One of the things I just want to say at the outset of this presentation, and I say it often, we don't want this web clinic, I don't know if you've attended other web clinics, but we're a little bit different here. We don't want this to be a monologue. We want this to be a dialogue, okay? In fact, many of you are already using your question and answer feature to, it looks like we're getting some echo. So if you're having that issue, let us know. Okay, I've just been given the signal that the echo should be fixed now. Again, we have a whole team standing by, a technical team as well as a content support team. It sees you guys are using those question and answer feature well, so you know how to use it. That's one way to get kind of back and forth with us. I'm going to be asking you questions, and I want to get you to respond and to provide feedback. And again, like I said, I want this to be a dialogue. Another way to do it, in a way that we will be using over here, is Twitter, #WebClinic. If I make a reference to a particular resource or particular training, you can look for that reference, you can look for that link on #WebClinic via Twitter. Today, and if you guys can help me with the slides here, today I've got some special guests with us. And today in the studio I have actually, as I mentioned, my name is Austin McCraw. I have Taylor Kennedy. Taylor Kennedy is a senior manager of research here at MECLABS. He is day-to-day, there we go. Hopefully you can see his happy, smiley picture on the screen right now. Taylor Kennedy is a senior optimization manager here at MECLABS, and he is day-to-day running and overseeing and participating in some of the experiments we looked at today. He was a part of and he oversaw, and many of the partners that we show on these clinics, Taylor is kind of in the trenches, hands-on, working on these things. He's going to be talking about one of the principles that we're going to learn about today in a little bit. We also have John Powell. If you're attending these clinics often, you know John Powell. John Powell comes in, he speaks. John Powell has many, many, many years experience optimizing campaigns, working with some of the largest organizations in the world. And today we have him as a special guest to come in, and if we have time, we're going to be looking at your own PPC campaigns. And so we want to bring John Powell in to help out with that. So we've got an all-star team today helping you through the challenges related to PPC. Now, that's all the housekeeping notes. Hopefully the audio is working. Okay, I'm getting signals from the audience that the audio is good now. So what I want to do is I want to start off like we normally start these clinics off with an experiment. And this time I'm going to get you to vote. All right, so audience, there should be two pay-per-click ads in front of you on the screen right now. Okay, put yourself for a moment in the shoes of the customer. Here are two ads. You're looking for some sort of back pain treatment. Okay, you search for something like that, and you're given two PPC ads. Here they are. And so my question to you, audience, is this: being the customer, which of these two do you think you're going to click on? Which of these two PPC ads will generate the most response? Now, use your marketing intuition. I'm not going to show you the results. I want to use your question and answer feature, okay? And let me know, is it version A or version B? All right? Again, let me know A or B. Which of these two pay-per-click ads would you click on? Josh, go ahead and scroll down so we can see them coming in. Make sure we're scrolling. Okay, I see a lot of B's. Okay, I've got B, B, B. Any more? So far, I only see a few B's. Are you guys being hesitant here? Which, again, this is a dialogue. Which of these will you click on? A or B? Okay, I see some more B's coming in. It looks like the majority of the audience is choosing B at this point, and we may be having some technical difficulties because normally the lines are flooded with votes here. Again, you're using your question and answer feature there provided by GoToWebinar. Let me know which of these responses do you think will generate the most, or which of these pay-per-click ads will generate the most response. Ah, there we go. There was a little lag in the system. Now it's coming through. Oh, wow. Okay, so I see, okay, wow, there's a lot of Bs. It's looking like there's about 75% of the audience is voting for B. B, A, B, 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 A, B, just a few A's. Well, would you believe it or not, actually, in this case, it was A that outperformed B. And I see your votes still coming in. You don't get any credit if you vote after the results are revealed, okay? You want to be faster next time, all right. A lot of you voted for B, but A actually generated 47% more clicks. And this test was ran through here through our parent company, MECLABS. It's been statistically validated at least a 95% level of confidence. And so the results are solid here. I want to show you another one, though, okay? Here's another pay-per-click ad. Okay, this one's a little bit more nuanced. Look at this. Look at these two. I'm going to give you a little bit of time, okay? Which of these two ads, if you were the consumer, all right, you're searching for a depression recovery facility, which of these two do you think will generate the most response from the customer? Let me know your votes. Take a look. The differences here are small. Let's make sure that we have it scroll down to the bottom. The differences we have here in this case, so take a look. You may have to take a few more minutes. All right, here we go. I see Bo. He said, are these the same? These are not the same ads. They are different ads. Okay, I see your votes coming in. They're coming in fast. A, B, 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 A, B, B, A, B, B, A, B, 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 A, B. Tanya says, oh, I see the difference. Well, Tanya, which one are you voting for? A or B? All right. And Bo just caught it as well. Okay, so A or B, here's the results. Actually, would you believe it, B outperformed A with even the small difference. For those of you who saw the difference, we'll talk about it in a moment. For those of you who saw, actually, B outperformed the control. So for those of you who voted for B on the first one and A for the second, you're going to want to tune in and learn from these experiments. Today we're going to be asking the question, why? This is what we do, right? So the goal of a test, so we just showed you some tests, and it's great that we got a 47% increase. It's great that we got a 289% more people clicking our ads, but there's a deeper thing we want here. We want to know why. Why are customers clicking one ad over the other? Because listen, I know for those of you who run PPC campaigns, I know how expensive they can be. I know there are people on this line right now, from the hundreds of marketers that are tuning in, there are people who spend millions of dollars running PPC campaigns. And I also know how easy Google makes it. I know it's not hard to change a PPC campaign. So in many cases, you are spending a lot of money, and with maybe some slight changes, which we're going to talk about today, you could potentially generate so much more return on the money you're spending with pay-per-click. I don't want to see any of you on the line wasting money on pay-per-click. I don't want to see any of you leaving money or even alienating yourself from the customer. There's a couple principles we're going to talk about today, 2 to be precise, based on these 2 experiments, and that's what we're going to cover today. Before we do that, though, I need to make you aware of something very special. Okay, so these clinics are free of charge to everyone who's attending them, and we're able to do that through sponsors. So before I get into our 2 key principles, just want to mention Marin Software. They provide cross-channel marketing. They're a cross-channel marketing platform, and they provide they really enable advertisers and agencies to manage their marketing campaigns, to optimize their marketing campaigns, and to measure them. So if that's something you're looking for, you can check out. You should consider checking out Marin. And thank you, Marin, for sponsoring this clinic and making it free of charge to all the people on the line right now. With that said, we're going to dive right into the first principle. You should be able to see it on your screen right now. I see Josh Summerhays. He says, man, I should be fired. I assume you got both of those wrong, Josh. That's okay. From our research, from our studies, the majority of marketers, when given tests like that, generally around 70–80% of the people guess wrong. Okay? So you're in good company. The first principle we're going to look at today is the principle of connotation. What do we mean by the principle of connotation? Well, let's start with that tricky PPC ad that we had there where it was hard to see the difference. Hopefully many of you saw the difference, but it was real simple. It was only one word. There was only one word change. In fact, how many of you on the line today would like to change one word on your pay-per-click ad and get a 289% increase? Well, we're going to tell you the principle underneath this change that potentially you can leverage, and it's the principle of connotation. Now, if you think about these words for a moment, why would clinic, all right, why would clinic underperform or not produce as much response as center? You should start, maybe it may start becoming clear to you for a moment. But when you look at the definition of these words, right, you look at the denotation of these words, what they actually mean from a textbook standpoint, there's not much difference. A clinic is a place or a hospital department where patients are given medical treatment or advice. Similarly, a center, an office or another facility that is dealing with a specific service or dealing with a particular emergency. In these definitions alone, from the book standpoint, there's not much difference. The denotation is the same, but the connotation is not the same. Let me ask you this, audience, and feel free to respond here, okay? Feel free to respond. What might be the psychological connotation of the word clinic? If I say clinic, what picture? Now, it's good to think in pictures here. What picture, what story do you think of? Josh says this. He says, clinics are overused. Oh, that was Tim. Josh says, clinic sounds low end. Kathy says, if you go to a clinic, you're crazy. You're crazy. Thank you, Kathy. If you go to a center, you're just visiting. Okay? What else? What things do you see? What things do you picture? Now, this is, I'm going to show you in a minute some visuals, but this is what you have to learn how to do. You have to learn to come, because it's so easy to say clinic from a company standpoint, but you've got to learn to think through the eyes of the customer. What does the customer hear when they hear clinic? They're not thinking the definition. They're thinking experiences. They're thinking experiences with previous clinics, things that were called clinics. So what's the difference? What do you see? Yes, clinic equals I am sick. Doctor, scary. Clinic is way too, I missed that one. It's kind of scrolling up fast. I lost that one. Clinic is a very sterile feeling. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look, when you see clinic, do you see something like this? Many of us have experienced clinics. We picture, a smaller facility. It's often cheaper. It often feels, oftentimes you have to wait in lines for doctors. Oftentimes it can be a very intimidating environment. Now, when you think of center, what do you picture? What do you see? What does the word center conjure up in your mind? Center is a place of expertise. Center equals knowledge, says Jan. Here's my question to you. When you see center, do you see something like this? Clinic, you see one thing. Center, now I will say this. This is actually pictures from the specific center we're talking about. So if I use the word clinic, did you picture this? You could almost use a completely different word here, even greater than center. You could potentially use the word resort here. But here's what I'm trying to help you see, right? So when the customer sees the word clinic, they see something completely different from what you're offering. But when you use a word like center or use the word like resort or something that actually gets to the essence of what you're offering, in this case, you're using a word that actually undermines and underplays the actual value you are communicating. Yeah, professional, centers are authorities, open spaces, fun, community, spa. Those are some of the things that you guys thought of when you said center. And so there's a big difference between the denotation and the connotation. You know this, all right? How many of you on the line have had to try to explain your job? For you marketers on the line, right? Someone asks you, what do you do for a living? How many of you are hesitant to say the word marketing? Why is that? It's not because of the definition of the word marketing. The definition of the word marketing is actually pretty neutral. It's communicating this idea of trying to get more people to say yes, trying to kind of help communicate values of offers and products. But when you say marketing, what do people think of? They think of stuff like this. They think of people trying to kind of manipulate them or scream at them. That's what marketing has become in the mind of people. The connotation is different than the denotation. What people don't often think of when they think of marketing is a picture like this. You may ask me, well, what does a school teacher have to do with marketing? Guys, school teachers are probably doing some of the most marketing on the planet. You have to stand before, young children and convince them, market to them a reason for why they should pay attention. If you think about it, that's what you're doing with your customers. Marketing is so much deeper. So what I'm trying to show here is the difference between the connotation and the denotation. And many of us can relate to being in a crowd, talking at a party, and saying, hey, and you don't want to say marketing, you want to try to say something, I work with organizations and help them better express the value of their products. That's marketing, that's the denotation. And we need to be careful of words that carry a connotation that is negative. Now, I'm going to just try to cash this in for a moment. Look at this ad and ask yourself, is there a word here that has a negative connotation? And we'll move quickly here. Negative connotation. What do you see? Audience, look at the words here. Which one of these words is a little more challenging? Which one of these words might have a negative connotation? I'm waiting for you to respond. This is a little tricky. Do you see it? That's right. Think of the word cheap cars. What does the word cheap imply? That's right, cheap. What do the words cheap imply? Yeah, on one side, cheap means cost-effective or low cost, but also cheap could potentially be understood. You guys all got it. It took a little while for your comments to come through. But cheap implies potentially the connotation of being of low quality. So that's something you want to watch out for. Let me give you one more. Look at this. Which of the words here in this ad, this is a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more tricky, and potentially something you're more likely to fall into. What is the word here that you potentially might have a negative connotation about? And there may be more than one, but there's one I'm thinking about. I see some people saying monitoring. Perhaps monitoring. Some people may be saying brands. Maybe what does brands mean? But I'll tell you, one of the words here that carries a negative connotation that we don't often think of is the word demo. The word product demo or the word deals. Think about it for a moment. And here's why. Because our audience has been sold demos, has been sold deals for years. They see it has a negative connotation in the sense of I'm being sold. So you want, see, I see some of you saying that now. Good. So what you've got to do, and what we've got to do is we've got to go through our ads, measure each word by the effectiveness of what not only it means definition-wise, but also the implied connotation of those words. We must be aware of the difference between connotation and denotation and must ensure that our PPC ads imply the most accurate and impactful meaning possible. That's principle number one. Let's talk about principle number two, and it is the principle of motivation. And I've asked Taylor to come on up and walk the audience through this principle. So audience, listen to Taylor.
All right, thanks, Austin. And I'm excited to be here with everyone today. Like Austin said, I'm a senior research manager here at MECLABS, and I'll be teaching you the principle of motivation. So once again, as all of you probably remember, it is the most important factor of the conversion sequence and also the most fun to test. So let's take a look. So if everyone remembers this case study from the beginning of the presentation that resulted in a 47% lift, what we're going to do now is break it down a little bit. So we had some comments earlier that were fantastic and almost got to the heart of this, and we're hoping we're going to get some more. So between these two treatments, what do you think is the biggest difference? And a lot of you said, what's the key term, what are they searching for, and voted for relief. Whereas if you look classically at pain versus pleasure, what do you think people are doing most here? So in the past, it's been proven avoidance of pain is usually a higher motivator than seeking some incremental pleasure. So what you'll see in the different ads here is the focus on relief from back pain versus avoiding open back surgery. And the results themselves proved out this concept that people are more willing to avoid pain than seeking a little bit of incremental relief. So that's that case study. And what we're going to do now is go through another case study. And this is test protocol 1214, and the background here is it's a CRM software solution for small and large businesses. Overall here, our research question is which PPC ad will generate the most clicks, and then also invariably what will have the most conversion. So audience, tell me a little bit about this ad. So what do you assume is the motivation of the searcher here? And what is this ad looking to target? And let me see some responses come in here. So it's the keyword is their search term. The name is obscured for confidentiality's sake, followed by the term software, because once again, this is a CRM software. And then award-winning, once again, the name of the software and fully integrated free trial. Okay, I'm seeing some responses come in. I'm seeing free trial, a lot of free trials. Looking for a reseller, interesting. Integrated, well-known name, very good. And award-winning. So I see a lot of different answers here. So moving forward, looking at the ad itself, the piece we're placing emphasis on is the award-winning nature of the software. So how important is the fact that this software has won awards? So now what we're going to be doing in this test is we're going to be determining what is the motivation of the audience and how do we appeal to that specific motivation. So let's take a look at the treatment. What we've done here is we've taken the software name and placed that in the header, and then now what we've talked about, the copy has been changed to #1 on-demand, 6,459 plus world clients, award-winning solution, free trial. So some of the elements from the previous ad have been repurposed, but there's another big factor that's been introduced. And that's the emphasis that it is one of the most used software suites out there, which would also imply that it's well-known, maybe industry-leading, industry standard. So we're trying to use that to enhance the credibility of the ad itself over a term such as award-winning. So who thinks, or what ad won here, the control or the treatment? And I'll wait a little bit for responses to come in before revealing it. And not seeing too much. And a lot of votes for the treatment coming in. And I think you might have guessed it based upon how I talked through it. But yes, the treatment did win. A 21% increase in conversion rate, which was click-through from the ad to the landing page here, by exploring a different motivation and finding out what really appealed to the audience. So something that we can now take from that is how do we take that approach and now expand it across the rest of our web properties and the web pages themselves. And that's another great and really important factor in motivation to consider is continuity and the importance of that in general across your website. So what we've seen here is some consecutive lists by taking that approach and taking it and carrying it throughout the funnel. So taking that 21%, going and putting that motivation on and expressing that on the landing page. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, but what you can see is that it is, one of the most widely used solutions out there. It's also has some credibility indicators on the page, really emphasizing the fact that there are a lot of solutions there, or this is the primary solution being used by these world clients. So what we've done is taken that and expanded it throughout the funnel, and we've seen these incremental lifts throughout. So what does that add up to? One really big lift, and that's this 272% overall relative increase in conversion throughout the funnel. So once again, this is a great example of taking that motivation and bringing it down the path. So what we're going to do now is break it down a little bit into the different components of motivation. So I'm going to teach a little bit here, so just bear with me a minute. So we have relevance, importance, and urgency, and these are three factors that intensify motivation. So relevance, this is the degree to which an offer is connected to a recipient's situational motivations. Some of these, a good example of this is linking this to a specific key term, having an ad that really talks to that specific motivation. So another one is importance, and that's the degree to which an offer is essential to a recipient's livelihood. So how do you make a product, or how do you message a product that the audience can't live without? And then now we're looking at urgency, which is the degree of immediacy associated with an offer. And this is either a time sensitivity factor based upon the visitor's demands, or also a way that you can message the offer itself so that the visitor understands that this might be limited time in nature, there might be a limited number being offered, things like that. Okay, so one of the greatest things about PPC is that it's a great avenue for testing value proposition. And for those of you who are not sure about your customer motivations, PPC can really help you drill down into that. So you have your top claims of value here, and what this is kind of a chart showing how you can test value proposition through PPC to really get down to your customers' motivations. So you have a number of value props here, and then what you've done is identified or created PPC ads based upon those value claims, and then what you do is test those to see test those different ads against each other to identify one of the top value claims. And then once you've done that, carrying that throughout the funnel to then be able to realize those gains throughout your website. Okay, great. So a little, one more quiz. So we have this search query, safe children's car seat, and we've got a couple different ads. So let's say the ad farthest to the left is A, the ad in the middle is B, and the ad to the farthest right is C. Which ad, audience, do you think is the most relevant or the highest performer for this search term? And let's see a few responses roll in. And just waiting on a few here to come in. And hopefully, I think there's a lag, potentially. But if anyone has any responses, A, B, or C, A far left, B in the middle, and C on the right.
They'll come in a minute. There has been a bit of a lag today. You know, one point, Taylor, here that I think is interesting is you don't necessarily have to be a whiz to get motivation. You don't necessarily have to be a whiz. In fact, you can tell a lot about the customer by simply just potentially looking at the search term. You actually have a key to the motivation right here. So audience, I mean, and you probably are voting right now. Yeah, in fact, I see the votes coming in right now. You know, we see a lot of, we have B, C, B, B, C, 3. Terry, we were using letters, Terry. It's not numbers. No, I'm just kidding.
So we got, yeah, a couple more C's, a lot of B's, not a lot of A's. So I think one of the pieces here to remember too is how do you break that search query into the individual components that really are the most important. So what you have is safe children's car seat, right? 4 words, but within those 4 words there's a lot of meaning, right? So on the far left we have version A. That's the ad is children's car seats. What is the main component that this is missing out on, right? It's safety. And once again, if that's in the search query, that's something that to make the ad most relevant, you can place within the ad copy itself. Now, treatment B, if we look at that, the child car seat safety, this nails one of the most important components, but it also misses out on one of the other components that's really important, which is the fact that the motivation of the user is likely that they're looking for a product. So we're still not quite there. And now we're looking at treatment C, and audience, if you haven't guessed it already, this is our winner, and this one nails it, because if you look at it, it's addressing the safety component, which is probably the most, or the best identifier of the user's motivation here in the query, but it's also following that up by offering the product right afterwards. So safety first, booster car seat. So it applies to the safety. It also applies to the fact that it is a product that the person is looking for. So that's kind of a breakdown of the motivation. So kind of our key takeaway here is that motivation is the most influential aspect of conversion, and the more intensely connected a PPC ad is to the true motivation of the searcher, the more intense the response will be. And now I'm going to pass it back to Austin here to kind of take us home.
Thank you, Taylor. Appreciate that. Audience, I trust you found that commentary and that information very insightful. As Taylor was saying, motivation is huge, and you can even have a well-written PPC ad that's connected to the wrong motivation, and that can impact the result. In fact, as Taylor was saying, probably one of the most powerful aspects of PPC is the ability that you can actually test and learn what is it about your customer that actually motivates them. It's not hard to do it, and so it's just a powerful use of PPC. So in summary today, guys, we have gone over 2 experiments and 2 key principles. The first one is the principle of connotation. That's where we need to make sure that every word of our PPC ad actually has the right meaning and it's not carrying some other latent, unassumed meaning. The principle motivation Taylor was just talking about, it is the most influential aspect, and the more tightly you can get connected to the motivation, the better. Now, you'll get these slides from us in about a week if you've attended this webinar. And here's just a quick checklist. I won't go through all these questions, but this is something that we use over here when we're thinking through pay-per-click ads. All right, we want to evaluate, is this pay-per-click ad effective? You know, we talk about connotation. We talk about the relevance of the term that was searched. Are you using special or not special, specific and quantitative language? That Taylor's example with the CRM software used number 1 and had this precise number of people to illustrate the appeal there. So here's a checklist. And without further ado, because I know time is of the essence, and we are going to get to live optimization today. So Before I do so, just want to make you aware of a kind of a real exciting thing here over our sister company, Marketing Sherpa. They have their email summit coming up, 2015. They just announced their featured speakers. If you do any email marketing or really any digital marketing out there with social or mobile or any of those pieces, you want to check out this summit. Obviously, an amazing line of keynote speakers, but we also have a lot of some of the best case study stories out there around testing and optimization, pay-per-click, different pieces, okay? I do want to say one other thing. If you're sitting on here, because we get a lot of questions about this, if you're sitting out there and you're wondering, man, this is really great, how do I get involved? Two ways. Number one, you can get involved through training, and or we'll have a survey at the end of this clinic, because we're looking for people to run tests like this. If you want to learn more about the motivations of your customer and use PPC to do so, or really any other kind of marketing collateral to do so, there'll be a survey at the end of this web clinic where you can raise your hand, click, I'm interested in a potential research partnership. That's honestly, that's why we're thriving here. We have people who partner with us and who want to learn about their customers, and it's real fun. And oftentimes there's a lot of significant results that go with that. Without further ado, I'm going to invite Taylor and John back up here. Time is of the essence, and if you guys don't mind, we may go just slightly over the time. If you need to duck out, feel free to do so. But what we have on the screen right here is a real-world pay-per-click ad submitted by Adala. Okay, this is Excelsior College. All right, people search online business course, and the PPC ad on the left is the one that's sort of served up. And then when you click it, you go to the page. So guys, I want to turn it to you. All right, you guys are the experts. You guys do this day in, day out. From our patterns of testing, where do you see potential opportunity with this pay-per-click ad? John, I'll start with you.
So the first thing that I would do, and a lot of based on the research, is I'm going to take a look at the keyword term, and then I'm going to take a look at the ad, and I'm going to ask one question. Does the ad align with the interests of the customer or what we perceive to be based on the keyword? Just like we talked about in motivation. Online business course, 8-week business courses, okay? So there may be a match, but take a look at the ad. Register now, start October 20th. Are they really interested in starting just yet? Maybe. Online business courses, 8 weeks. Is 8 week really matter? What about the number or the type of different courses, right? So if you look at the landing page, you've got accounting, finance, I'm just taking a look, you've got global business. What if you said that there's 8 or 10 different focuses? Or in some cases, you could just feature an MBA, because most people, what is the one thing that most people are looking for when they type that in? So I would challenge you to test things like 8 week. You could put online into the headline if you could fit it into the characters, and then focus that body copy on the amount of different focuses or on one particular one instead of being so incredibly general.
Yes.
So that's one thing. The second question I would ask is it intense enough on that interest? So instead of saying, you might, again, qualification or quantification, the number of different focuses you have, things like that. Right? The landing page itself could very well be easily consistent with that. I mean, a lot of the ammunition is right there. Online Bachelor of Science in Business, okay? Earn accredited business, maybe it's accreditation that they're interested in. There are a lot of different things you could do here, but those are just a few of the key things.
You know, one thing I noticed about this pay-per-click ad is it's, I don't know, maybe 5 words before they say register now. Which is basically a call to action. And from what we may understand about, just from looking at the search term, this person is looking potentially for information about online business courses. They're definitely, well, I won't say definitely, but they're most likely not ready to register now. Right. They're probably looking for something that might connect more to their motivation, is what John is talking about, like a little bit more detail about what kind of options they have. They weren't super specific in their search terms, so they're probably looking at different options, and your call to action is not register. Your call to action should be something more along the lines of see what's available, learn more about our course offerings, which the web page does to some degree, but the PPC ad is, I mean, in some sense, that's trying to put the cart before the horse in some sense.
If you're going to do a call to action, free introductory packet, learn more. I mean, they're really not looking for a lot in this space, but I'm sure they're not looking to register right away, especially with such a general term, if that is indeed the term for this ad.
Okay, very good. Audience, we're going to do one more. I'm going to switch fast. Audience, and this time I'm not going to put John or Taylor to start on here. You guys have learned some principles from this web clinic. I want to see if you can begin to apply them. Okay, so audience, look at this pay-per-click ad. Look at the context. This was submitted by Alexandra. look at the context. They're searching for automated IT infrastructure monitoring. You don't have to necessarily know what that's about, but ask yourself, is the PPC ad connected to the motivations? And also, are there any negative connotations that we don't want in this PPC ad? So what would you do to improve this PPC ad I'm looking at? All right, Julia says it doesn't reference IT anywhere. Good. Good comment, Julie. Ad automated. That's what, and Chris is probably saying that automated. And Chris and Greg both said that. That may be related to the, in fact, it's up there at automated's in the search term, right? So that's definitely something that's connected to the motivation. So that's a good catch. Excellent. Automated IT is the focus. So a lot of people are saying this idea of automated. So guys, that's an easy catch. What else do you see here that potentially might improve this pay-per-click ad?
Okay, so looking at this pay-per-click ad itself, I think once again the audience has a lot of good ideas. So 15-minute setup, is it too soon to do that, to take that ask? And then the free 14-day trial, I think that is a benefit here. Once again, emphasizing that it is free, it's a low ask, and since it is a PPC channel, your focus here is get the click and get them to the landing page. So other than that, I think those are some of the key factors, and I'll let John talk a little bit.
Yeah, the one thing that they may do, if you want to pair it up with the free 14-day trial, is see how it works. This apparently is one brand new thing, right? So, and they're looking for a solution. They're trying to find something that they haven't found before, right? So why not pair up the free trial with something simple like see how it works, or something very much discovery oriented. That way they're not, set up in 15 minutes. Who wants to go through an entire setup and run an old demo themselves? They're just trying to figure it out. So invite them to figure it out. Use that curiosity to your benefit, and then, of course, anything with free in it's going to get their attention. It's just a psychological thing. So yeah, pair it up. Use discovery.
And I would, audience, I think you guys probably hit maybe on one of the most impactful pieces, and you're able to start seeing some of the motivation here. And there may be other aspects of the motivation that we're not considering here, but obviously as they've searched for automated, that is something that they're interested in. So you want to make sure that you can align and connect the motivation. So you guys were right. You guys hopefully are starting to feel, hopefully you can start looking at pay-per-click ads a little bit differently just from this short 30-minute webinar. Guys, this is good. Guys, thanks for contributing. Audience, I'm going to jump to my final slide here. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but we are constantly and desirous looking for people to partner with us in terms of research. All this information came from groups like you who said, you know what, I want to learn about my customer. I want to do some testing. And so if that's you, if you're interested in that, check that out. If you have a team that you want to train or get caught up to speed on some of these principles related to PPC or other marketing aspects, there's other forms there or other boxes you can check there if you're looking for team training or course training, etc. Either way, thank you for attending this web clinic. We hope and trust that you found its content valuable. If you like this content, again, it's free of charge. The only thing we ask you do is share it with a friend, let them know that you liked it, let them know that you're finding valuable information, and we will see you back here. We'll see you back here in a few weeks. Thank you very much.